Hi, I'm back. I don't have very long to do this, so I'm going to try to hurry up. So since the last video that I did, uh, ever since then, I have been having Braxton Hicks contractions, like, all the time. Anytime I do anything, it felt like I was going into labor, and then all of a sudden it would stop after so many hours, and it hurt. It was pretty painful. Um, I went to the doctor, and then I was dilated a fingertip. I think that was the last video that I did, was I might have been dilated a fingertip. And then after that, I went back a week later, and then I was dilated to 2. A week after that, I was dilated to 3.5, almost 4. After that, we kind of stopped having Braxton Hicks, and everything kind of just slowed down, like just seemed to stop. And then one day, June 4th, I was having my brother's graduation was at 7 o'clock that night. Well, after we got back from the graduation, I had lost my mucus plug, and well, I've been losing my mucus plug. I know this is gross, but I've been losing my mucus plug like the whole week before, and then the week before that, so it's kind of slow coming out. And then all of a sudden, I had bloody show that night, so I had a little bit of blood and brown discharge or whatever, and it was really gross. And it wasn't a whole lot, so I was like, okay, that's just bloody show, no big deal. Well, on that night I was fine. There was nothing going on. June 6th, which was Monday, I went to bed like normal, and I woke up at 2 in the morning, which is Tuesday the 7th, June 7th. I woke up that morning at like 2 in the morning, and I'm not sure, it was between 2 and 2:15. And I was having extremely painful contractions, like really, really bad. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, just extremely bad. And I tried really hard to ignore them and sleep through them, but it just hit all of a sudden. As soon as I woke up, it was so strong, there was no way I could go back to sleep. So I got up and went to get my mom, and all of a sudden I had another contraction right in front of her. Actually, I had like 3 in front of her because they were so fast and close together already. So she went downstairs to to wake up her boyfriend and let him know what was going on. And I went back to my bedroom and woke up Gabe and told him we need to get to the hospital now. So he got up, got ready, and within 10 minutes within 10 minutes we were out the door. They got worse and worse. They were about 3 to 4 minutes apart once I got up, and then once we got in the car, they were getting closer. By the time we got to the hospital, they were about 2 minutes apart, almost 2 minutes apart. By the time I got upstairs, because we went through the emergency room, they were like back to back to back to back contractions. By the time I got up there, I had a really strong contraction. They were trying to help me in the bed, and I just jumped in the bed, pushed them out of the way, and I laid there with my legs underneath my chest, my knees underneath my chest, and started rocking. And during that contraction, and I was screaming, and I remember they had to like physically push me back. There was 2 nurses there, Gabe and my mom. They had to physically push me back into the bed to lay down, take my clothes off, put on a shirt thing, whatever, hospital gown. They had to put that on me and put an IV in me. By the time they did all that, they checked me. I was already dilated to 10 centimeters. So, and I'm not sure what time they actually checked me. We didn't have time for pictures. We didn't have time for anything. I had no time for anything at all. I was just screaming at everybody. My mom said I was the worst thing that she'd ever seen, which I would expect because I was in extreme labor and already dilated to 10 centimeters, and none of us knew that. So on June 7th at 3:02 a.m., Grayson came, and they told me not to push because the doctor wasn't in there. And it was the same doctor Kendra had, And he wasn't on call that night when I had her. He was on call this time, but he didn't make it. So he actually didn't deliver either of them, even though he was my doctor. Anyways, when she checked me, I was 10. I was ready to push. I was just like, this pain hurts so bad. I'm ready to get him out. And so the nurses were like, don't push, don't push. My mom and Gabe were like, don't push, don't push. And I'm like, there's no way I'm not pushing. So I pushed, and I pushed once, the water broke. I pushed twice. I felt him literally in my body move down. And I pushed the third time, and his head popped out, and then the rest of his body threw out that one push. They never had time to suck his nose and mouth with just his head being out. They never had time to do anything. The doctor wasn't there. The nurses were like pretty much freaking out because they weren't sure what to do. They seemed like they didn't know what to do. But that's pretty much it. That I had so many Braxton Hicks and false labor and all this other stuff. And at 35 weeks, I think it was, they stopped my labor. It was 35 weeks. They stopped my labor because I was in labor once already, and they had to give me a shot to stop it. Said it was too early. So, yeah, we had him. He was 37 weeks, and he actually, once he came out and everything, they had said that he was, I'm not sure how they said it, but they said that he was ranked as a 38-weeker baby. I'm not sure if that meant he was actually 38 weeks or that his development was 38 weeks, but it was 37 weeks in my pregnancy, and I had him at 37 weeks and 2 days, according to the doctors. It was a great experience. I was really happy that I was able to go natural, even though that it wasn't really a choice whether I was going to go natural or not, because I was already dilated to 10 by the time they checked me and I got into the hospital. It was fast from 2 o'clock in the morning until, it wasn't even 2, it was past 2. I woke up between 2 and 2:15, and then we got to the hospital at 2:43. We signed in, and I had him at 3:02. So it didn't even seem like that long once we got there. But I'm really happy with how it came out. I always wanted one natural. I don't know. I'm glad I wasn't tied to the bed and everything. The only thing I had was one IV, and they put a oxygen mask on me because I was the baby's heart rate started going down real low. They couldn't even find his heartbeat. It's just a memory now, and I'm glad that it happened the way it did. After I had him, I did hemorrhage again, and the doctor had to, once he got there, the placenta was still inside because the nurses didn't want to mess with that because I told them that I hemorrhaged, so they left it in there until he got there. He got there, and he walks in, and he's like, "Are we ready to have a baby?" And he looks over and sees the baby there. He's like, "Oh, wow, you already did." So I was kind of sad about that, only because I did want him to deliver the baby this time, but it worked out the way it worked out, I guess. But he ended up he got the placenta out, and I hemorrhaged. He had to put forceps in there, and it felt like he was put his whole hand in there and dug in there to get placenta pieces out or something. I'm not really sure what happened. It hurt really bad. I just know that it felt like he stuck his hand in there while I was having a major contraction. It hurt so bad, and that was after the baby was out. And it wasn't the placenta. When the placenta came out, it didn't hurt. The placenta had just plopped. It wasn't even a big deal. I didn't rip at all. I got a little bitty tear, but it wasn't even enough to get a stitch. So I got really lucky on that. He was 6 pounds, 8.3 ounces. He came home at 6.6 pounds, 5 ounces. He had no problems with anything. He didn't have jaundice. He didn't have any low sugar like the girls. He didn't have, there was absolutely not one thing wrong with him. I'm trying to think. He was 19 inches long. We did end up naming him Grayson Lee. We were talking about changing his middle name to Lane because that's Gabe's family name is Lane. But we heard that somebody in the family was going to name their kid Grayson Lane, so we were like, no. By the time we got on the birth certificate and Gabe sent it in, his grandmother came to visit and already said that they're not even naming the baby Grayson. They might use Lane, but they're not even going to name him Grayson. And I was like, really? I like the name Grayson Lane, but Grayson Lee I like too. So it was kind of a up in the air name, and it was like, whichever one really didn't matter. I liked both of them. So I'm glad we stuck with Grayson Lee. So yeah, I'll let you meet him now and see how he's doing. He's a week and 4 days now. And I'm going to try to keep up with videos again. Might not be weekly, but I'm going to do the best that I can at adding videos. I really don't have a lot of time anymore to do videos, but I'm going to really try and do what I can. So yeah, let's meet Grayson, and that's about it. If you have any questions, let me know. My birth story was pretty fast. It wasn't really anything special besides it was natural and not one drug, nothing, no epidural, no drugs, no pills, no. All I got was saline water put in my IV, and that's all they had time for. They were lucky they were able to get that in.